Well, hello writers. Welcome to episode number 192 of How Do You Write? I'm Rachael Herron. So thrilled that you're here today. Today we're talking to the fantastic KJ Dell'Antonia, and she's just one of those people that I fell in love with. As soon as we were introduced, I'd already enjoyed one of her viral essays, which you probably also read too. And she talks about dissecting other people's work to figure out how it works. Also, she's just a bundle of joy and energy, and it was a challenge not to want to talk to her for hours. So I know that you're going to enjoy the interview that is coming up. What is going on around here? In the biggest news of all, I've really been enjoying cutting my flowers from my flower garden. And today, actually, I'm working on a Patreon essay about compost. And about learning that I could compost those Post-it notes that I do all of my decisions about writing on. And I'm just thinking a lot about the fact that right now above me on my desk, there is a vase of flowers that I grew from scratch. And it feels almost as satisfying as writing a book, I swear. And I'm really loving that. I turned in my book, the fourth revision to my editor on Monday. I guess that's actually the biggest news. Turned that in. I spent all of, I guess it was Saturday, Sunday, and some of Monday reading the book on my wife's iPad. And that was the first time I've used an iPad to read the book. And it was so great, so revelatory that I got an iPad, the cheap small one. But being able to look at the PDF that I made look like a book on the iPad and being able to use the pencil to write all my comments and notes, it was astonishing how many terrible sentences were still in the book that had gone through now 3 revisions. And yes, this was the time where I was trying to make all the language the best it could be. This was the time. But I still ran into, my favorite sentence that I ran into was, she jumped back, but not in time. And I don't write science fiction. I don't write time travel. That was just a bad sentence. So that took a couple days, and it was so much fun. That is just, like I say all the time, that is my favorite place to be. However, I am looking forward to first drafting something soon. I have more revision to do on the collection of essays that I'm revising, but I'm itching. I'm kind of getting the itch. I need to be in a new book. So powering through a bunch of smaller projects that I need to get done and off of my desk, spending time in the garden, feeling grateful that I don't have COVID, that no one around me does, and I hope that you do not also. Let's see, over in business stuff, I just need to thank new patrons Thomas J. Langer and Josh Kylan and Patrick Martinez. Just a bumper crop of men this time. And thank you guys. Josh and Thomas are at the mini coach level, so they get to use me as their mini coach. And Knitty, the online knitting magazine. I'm actually a patron of them. I just love Knitty. So if you've never been to knitty.com, you should go there. Years and years of free knitting patterns, articles, stuff to do, stuff to learn. It's fantastic. So thank you, Knitty, for supporting me. I appreciate it. And what else? I think I've just been having a nice time thinking about what I love and doing what I love. I have been very much into reading every night in my never-ending quest to get better sleep. I have really learned that if I don't look at a screen 2 hours before I go to bed. It was an hour, now it's 2 hours. If I don't look at a screen 2 hours before I go to bed and just read, boy, do I sleep better. So I've just been blowing through books. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. I only read books that I love. I was reading a book that everybody else loves. It actually, I believe, won a National Book Award last year, 2019, I think. And I got 75% of the way through it last week, thinking, I will have to love it. Everyone else loves it. And then at 76%, I went, screw this. This is much farther than I usually get if I'm not loving something. Usually I only get 20 pages. And if I'm not loving something, I will quit. This one, though, I was reading with a friend, and she wanted to read it. So, no, I quit. You don't have to finish books. There are so many incredible books out there that want to be read, that you want to read. Only read the books Here's my rule. Only read the books that you think about watching TV, Netflix, the best series on TV that you're super into right now. Only read the book that will pull you away from that. Read the books that are so good you don't want to do the binging of television or whatever it is that you want to indulge in less. Read the book that pulls you off of Facebook, that pulls you off of Twitter. There are millions of incredible books that we will never have time to read all of them. We should only be reading the books that we cannot put down, that we can't wait to get back to. So I've been doing a lot of that, and that really helps my life in all the ways. Plus, as writers, we get to say very smugly to the people around us, don't bug me. I'm doing work. I'm working here. Can't you see? I'm reading. This is my work. This is how we learn, which is something that KJ and I talk about in the interview that will follow right now. I hope that you enjoy it as much as I did talking to her. And also, in my ever hopes, I hope that you're getting some work done. You're getting some really, truly, tragically terrible words on the page that you would be embarrassed if anybody ever saw, because those are the words we all put on the page in a first draft, no matter how many books you've written. That is normal. You can fix it later. Be really proud of what you're doing. And come tell me about it somewhere. Go over to howdoyourwrite.net or find me at rachaelherron.com. Send me an email. Tell me how you're doing. I really love hearing from you. Okay, my friends. We'll talk soon. Well, I could not be more pleased today to welcome to the show KJ Dell'Antonia. Hello, KJ.
Hello. I am so happy to be here. I listen to every episode. I already know my answers to all the questions. I hardly even need you.
It's funny, sometimes you'll know that when people haven't actually read the questions because I'll stump them. And I'm like, dude, I sent you the questions. They were right there.
A craft tip? I don't know.
That's the one I have stumped people on before, but I won't stump you.
No, you won't. I'm ready. I'm totally ready. So I do my own podcast, and we had a guest recently. We had Susan Wiggs.
Oh, I love her.
Okay. So have her on. You could go out for coffee. She was hysterical. She didn't need us in any way, shape, or form. She was a great gift, and she was a great guest, and she had this great thing that her craft tip would be that she finds her character's wish song, like in a Disney movie.
That's so cute.
Isn't it awesome?
That's a great craft tip.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. So there's a bonus craft tip from Susan Wiggs, who totally, we didn't even need to be there. She just,
I love her. She's the very first person who blurbed my first book 25 books ago, and it was a cold call. I emailed her because we were
That's
cops,
impressive.
And I said, I don't have a book out. Would you consider blurbing this? She read it, and she said she loved it, and she gave me an amazing blurb. And I was like, this woman is so big and so famous, and so she didn't need to do that. So for me, she will always be that person who was the first person to say yes.
That's really nice.
So, but let's talk about you. Let me give you your intro, because you're the important person right now. KJ Dell'Antonia is the author of the viral New York Times essay, Why I Didn't Answer Your Email, which I had read before we even met. The former editor of the Times Motherload blog, the co-host of the #AmWriting podcast, and the author of the book, How to Be a Happier Parent. Her debut novel, The Chicken Sisters, is a timely, humorous exploration of the same themes she focuses on in her journalism. The importance of finding joy in our families, the challenge of figuring out what makes us happy, and the need to value the people in front of us more than the ones in our phones and laptops every single time. I find that so beautiful. And
thank you. I wrote it.
I always have to remember that the people around me are more important than the people I'm making too. Right?
Yes.
I tend to get pretty invested in my characters and not be able to leave my computer or be always thinking. It shows. People know when they're not the focus.
Yes, or when you're just grumpy because something is happening in your writing that has nothing, like there's no reason in your world to be unhappy, but like your character, either A, your character is having a frustrating experience, or B, your character is being super frustrating by like not, or your story is. Yeah.
Or all of the above.
Or all
exactly.
of those
That's
things.
actually
Absolutely.
how I have felt today. So that book, The Chicken Sisters, is coming out in December. Is that right?
December 1st.
Oh,
Yep.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Read it. That's
the
my
great
kind of book.
gift for your sister. That's it.
I'll give it to both of my sisters. I have too. Okay, so let's talk about you, because you are one of those people who does everything and is everywhere and knows everybody. We know each other through the amazing Jenny Nash.
The amazing Jenny Nash.
That was such a great interview. And she's just so delightful. And I knew that you were as soon as we connected, and I deep dove into your backlist and realized, oh, I remember that essay that went viral. I loved that thing. But talk to me about your process. When and where and how do you get your writing done? And please include like how that has changed nowadays.
Oh my gosh, how it has changed nowadays. So I live in rural New Hampshire with 4 kids at home. One's off to college next year, and 3 dogs and 2 cats and 2 mini ponies and 18 full-size horses that I don't have to take care of because somebody else lives here too and takes care of them.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So crazy. So what I typically, like my normal process is that I get up, I exercise because I do. This is like a new thing that I've really beaten into my routine. I'm super proud of it. So I get up and I work out, and then I deal with like my family kind of stuff. Getting, if I need to drive people to school, which I frequently do because there's no bus from where we live because it's rural. I do that. If I need to just sort of help people sort out their lives and get them, then I do that.
What time do you get up to get your workout in before you start doing all that stuff?
6:15. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
And so usually I am back, and I mean, this isn't normal life. If normal life ever comes back, usually by like 8:20, 8:30, I'm back and I'm ready. And the first thing that I do, I don't look at my email. I don't even really look at text. I mean, I kind of glance to see who's texted me, because that's what would be my mother, or once my son's at college, that would be him. Like that's what would be something like that. Right. But mostly I don't really read them. I just glance at, because my phone is also my alarm clock. So I come back and I still don't look at my email, and I really do go right in, and usually, yeah. So especially if I'm in mid draft, like I know what I'm doing, I sit down and I work for I write for I set a timer for 55-minute intervals.
55 is yours. 45 is mine.
Yeah. So 55 is mine, and I do 2 or 3 or maybe 4, but that would be really hard. Yeah.
I was doing 5 and 6 last week on a deadline, and I had one 12-hour day. But I remembered that like 2 or 3 is so awesome. Like you get so much done in 2 or 3, and you get diminishing returns at 4 or 5 or more than that. Yeah. That's so. Then do you take a break? Do you walk around? Do you?
Yeah. Well, at the 55-minute, I usually get up and make a cup of coffee, or it's not set for that. It's really because I can't focus for any longer than that.
Yeah.
But I get up and get a cup of coffee. I make some breakfast when I'm ready to eat. I let the dog out.
And you were saying,
and then I come back and I reset it. Oh, and after I set it, I take my little phone and I'm going to just demonstrate. Don't worry, no phones will be harmed in this demonstration. I go like that.
People who are not watching this, she threw it away.
I just
that is a really good case.
Yeah. Well, no, it's carpeted, and it's carpeted. And I kind of threw it gently. So I'll toss it onto the sofa or over the coffee table onto the, I try to be gentle with it, but it has to be.
Great idea.
It has to be gone. It's funny because I won't flake off into email in my laptop. Yeah. Mostly, unless I'm having a really terrible time and all my notifications are off. Yep. If I'm having a terrible time, I turn off the Wi-Fi. But the phone, if it's sitting here, I mean, I just find myself like, wait, why do I have this in my hand?
Yeah.
How did that happen? I
would say that the majority of my life, it is within reach.
Yeah.
And we don't think about that. I just loved just seeing you throw it. Everybody wish, if you're not watching it on video, you should come to the video and watch it. She just threw it. That was like a huge light bulb went on in my brain, because honestly, when I
can't have it by me.
And if I walk away from my phone, often I'll leave it in the kitchen if I looked at it at lunch or whatever, and I don't notice I don't have it for 3 or 4 hours. Yeah. I'm just doing my stuff, and then I go, where is my phone? But if it's nearby, you're checking it all the time.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. And you said before we got on the air that you don't usually work at your desk. You're working downstairs where people can come in and bother you.
Yeah, now they can. So normally, in normal times, they're not at home and no one is at home. But now there are 5 other humans in my house. Actually, right now there are 9 other humans in my house because we have achieved the enormous COVID victory of having guests.
Oh, your bubble has opened. Yes.
Well, they took a test and they got in their car and they drove here, and
that's wonderful.
These are some of our very best family friends. So I'm delighted. I'm thrilled beyond anything that they are here. Although the truth is that I thought they were coming tonight. And so yesterday at 5, when they were like, we'll be here in half an hour, I was like, oh, of course you will.
I'll go fix a bed.
Some food. Yes, that's exactly. Because in my mind, I was going to do all that today. Like I was going to get things ready, and I was going to go to the grocery store. I was going to wash sheets and make children clean bathrooms and all those things. We did those things really, really quickly. And the truth is that that's what would have happened anyway. It would have gotten to like 6 o'clock and I would have been like, oh my God, they're going to be here any minute. So.
And now it's done. It's taken care of. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, I'm jealous about having house guests. That must be really,
so
really nice.
It feels so human, and they're like our best friends, and we can talk, and oh, it feels almost normal. It's wonderful.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I'm so happy to hear that you are having that. What is your biggest challenge when it comes to writing?
So among my biggest challenge, I think probably my biggest challenge in fiction is making my characters do the stupid thing. Like, I really have a tendency to be like, but she's a really smart person. She'd probably just go to the other human that she's having trouble with and say, hey, I think we should talk this through. So I have to like really set out for, okay, like what would be the worst possible decision this person could make in this situation? We're going to do that.
And then
like,
give her the real reasons. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. And why, but yeah. So making the bad things happen, and then another bad thing, and making sure that they happen because my character is screwing up, not just because the bad things are raining down, but because they are making bad choices for, in their minds, excellent reasons.
That was the hardest thing for me to learn for a number of books.
It's really hard.
Yeah. Jenny, I think, has some kind of tool of like backwards, like because of this happened or something. I keep
she's got this whole inside out line thing. You have to you have to have a because at the end of every one. But even she would sometimes let you slide by with a, because there was a really bad thunderstorm. And I'm like, I know to like go back and be like, no, this is because my character left all the windows of their car open for the really bad thunderstorm because they were angry at their sister or whatever. It has to be all those things. So that to me is the hardest thing. And even like I just turned in a manuscript. So now I'm like, what's next? Like I'm trying to pull together and I'm trying to figure out, like, I kind of know who I'm going to write about. I kind of know what's going to happen. I know what she wants. And I know all these things. But what I don't know is what does she do that like tips the roller coaster? I can't figure that out.
Do you like this part while you're in this exploration?
I do, but I like even better the part where I know where I'm going and I have maybe even pre-written a little bit and I'm just going to like dive in. I like the best the part where there's going to be lots and lots of words.
Yes. The more words, the better. That's
even if they're terrible words. Yep. They'll probably have all the right letters in them, and I can work with that.
That's a great way to say it. What is the biggest joy that you have in writing?
That part. The part where you've sort of pre-written and you know what this scene's going to be, and yet it's not boring, because if it's boring, you should just don't write it and just like write 2 sentences and hopefully skip over it. And sometimes you can't do that, but so that part where you're like, I know where this is going and it's going to take a couple thousand words to get there, but I've got like these points that I'm going to hit during it. Even in nonfiction, same thing. When I know where it's going, it's so much fun.
Do you write yourself to know where you're going, or do you know it ahead of time?
In nonfiction, in essays, I tend to write myself to it, and then I have to go back and rewrite it. Usually from the beginning, and frequently while throwing aside everything that I have written except maybe the last paragraph. In fiction, no, because I will write 30,000 words that just, like, especially if my characters start talking about food, it could be pages before we come back to, yeah. So in fiction, I have found that I really need it. Sometimes I still write my way to it. Like, sometimes it doesn't go the way that I thought it would, and I still have to, but it's better if I at least have some. And this manuscript that I just turned in, I didn't know what was going to go disastrously wrong. I did start writing without knowing what was going to go disastrously wrong. And I may have to do that again, because not only have I not figured out the tipping point of the roller coaster, but I haven't figured out like the catastrophe at the end.
Sometimes I write whole books without knowing that. I have to get there. I prefer to know everything. I think you and I have a really similar system where we write ourselves to what we know in nonfiction, but we have to know a little bit more for fiction. But I often have no idea what the dark moment catastrophe is going to be, and I never know how they're going to fix it. Because I figure if I already know, then it's too easy. Yeah. You know?
Well, and I turned this manuscript in, and I just realized, and I just was thinking about it, and I'm like, I don't think they fixed it themselves enough. I think I gotta fix that. It's okay. I mean, I just turned it in. Like it's
revisions will be coming.
Revisions are on their way, but I already know that that's going to be like, people sailed in and told her what she needed to hear, and I need a little more of her. Yeah.
Fighting. Yeah. Oh, good. I love hearing that. Okay, so not Susan Wiggs. What is your best craft tip that you could share with us?
I like to dissect things.
Ooh, tell me more.
So I will, for example, take a Catherine Center book, because those are beautifully formed.
I have not read Catherine
Center.
No.
Okay, so she's got technique. Girl's got game.
Ooh, do you have a particular one you'd recommend?
I think
I'll just look
looking around like they're here or whatever, but not the current one, but the one before, which I think was called I think the current one is What You Wish For, and the one before that, Things You Save in a Fire. That one.
What a great title.
Yeah. So the first third of that book, like, I've torn that apart to see, like, why did I want to keep reading this so bad? Why did this work so well? Like, seriously, to the level of, like, how many words were they, how many paragraphs were spent in this backstory, and how many paragraphs were spent here?
Super analytical.
Yeah. Or I'll take a book and be like, okay, I really felt like the mother was an important part of this book. How many times did the mother actually appear? And sometimes the answer is like 3.
Yeah.
So it just, like, that stuff informs what I'm doing. And with nonfiction, it's even easier. I mean, if I am, we're reading the same book, I can see it in the background.
Which book?
I think is that The Vanishing Half? No. Okay,
that's probably mine. That's stolen things.
Sorry, that was distracting. I forget where I was.
Dissecting.
I was dissecting. I was dissecting nonfiction. It's even better for nonfiction. So, like, if I want, I don't do this as much anymore, but when I was really getting started as a freelancer, if I wanted to pitch a piece to a particular magazine, I would go and I would look at, how do their pieces start, and how many people get interviewed, and how long, and then how many, and really make sure that what I pitched them fit what it was. Or if I wanted to write, like, even now, if I wanted to write a persuasive essay for a particular newspaper about, I don't know, maybe I want to write it about how, you shouldn't eat factory farmed meat. So I might go and find a persuasive essay that they had published that was about how, vegetables are, I'm flaking on my examples, but anyway, I would tear that up and figure out how many words and where where do they put the punchline, where do they put the thing that says why they're writing it? Where do they put what they said, with the part where they say why you should care that they're writing it in particular? Like, where is all that stuff? I don't have to do that as much anymore because I've done so many essays now, but when I was getting started, I did that all the time. So I love to just tear stuff up and really look at the nitty-gritty of what makes it work.
I love that, and I wish I did that more. I have done it a lot in nonfiction, like you said, less so in fiction, just because a lot of times fiction seems so big and broad, and like, how did they do this? But I just started a collection of essays last night called Tomboyland. It's from one of the Amazon imprints, and it was one of their Kindle free, like
Sure.
Kindle First one.
Yes.
So I grabbed it, and it's so beautiful. And I'm actually doing that because her essays are really long with a lot of multiple parts. She's definitely like an acolyte at the Rebecca Solnit altar, right? She's doing the kind of
to learn to do that. So
Me too.
I should grab that, because I've been trying to learn to make my essays less like, here's 800 words for the New York Times. Here's 800 words for the Washington.
Yes.
I'm so I love that I can throw those around like that.
Right.
But you know, what would I do if I was going to write for, like, I don't know.
Long form or
there's a Southern one that I really love. What would that look like?
And it's so interesting because she writes these and then you're like, I don't think she's even on her point anymore. And then she brings it back around. So yeah, I'm dissecting that the way that you're saying. I should good. More people should do this. That's such a great tip. I have no idea how you're going to answer this. What thing in your life affects your writing in a surprising way?
Oh, I was just thinking about this, and now I forget what I thought of. What did I think of? What thing in my life affects my writing in a surprising way? I think the best thing I thought of was almost the things that don't affect it in the way that I thought I would.
Yes, take us there.
Like, because I was already in the book for when COVID hit.
Yeah.
I was able to keep going. It didn't matter. Like, because I've been a professional, I've been making my living at this for 10 years, and I did a lot of it on a daily multiple deadline schedule. If I know what I'm going to write, things can fall down around me, and I can still, if it has to get done, it's going to get done. So it's almost more, the Chicken Sisters, I finished it during breast cancer treatment. Same thing. I knew what I was doing, and obviously I was okay, and I was gonna be okay, and I didn't even have to have chemo, and I still had my hair, and it was all great. Except that it wasn't great, but it didn't. I guess I'm surprised by how little those things do throw me off my game. Whereas, let's see, what does throw me off my game?
Yeah, what does throw you off?
Yeah, little stupid stuff like those days where it's just like somebody asks you to do this and somebody asks you to do that, and you get thrown off at the very beginning, and then right when you're going to sit down, if I don't do the writing part first, I probably won't do it.
Me too. Yeah. We are so alike in this. I can't recover from that. I can't then at noon go, okay, let's start my 8 a.m. writing now. It's just done.
I mean, maybe if I'm on a terrible deadline, and especially if I planned for it, if I knew that I had, I had to take a kid to the dentist, and so I'd mentally gone at 11, we will start, then I can probably pull it off. But if it just sort of doesn't happen, man, mostly it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. This is so not on the topic at all, but because you and I both have these Aura rings now that track our sleep and our movement, and I love them. I love these things. So what exercise are you doing in the morning? Because I've got to get better at doing exercise in the morning.
Oh, I get up and I have a weightlifting machine kind of thing that my husband
just thinking about getting into weightlifting.
Okay, so this is another lunatic purchase of tech variety, which he actually bought before COVID, but has been great for COVID. So it's this thing, it's called Tonal, Tonal, and it's like, I don't know if you've seen The Mirror on Instagram, but it kind of looks like that. Okay, so it's like a 18-inch by 4-foot thing that goes on the wall, and it's like 6 inches deep, and somehow through the power of magnets and technology, it can make things weigh 100 pounds for each arm.
You're kidding.
Yeah. So, and then it has like little people. There's little people in it. It has programs that were created by these, so you say, I want to build muscle, and it'll give you a 4-week program, and it can tell, like, if you're doing bicep curls and you're here and you're like, I can't do this anymore, it'll drop the weight.
No way.
Or it'll add to the weight.
Do you love it? I
do. I do love this thing. I have no idea how much it costs because I did not have anything to do with the purchasing of it. That was my husband. The gym is his.
Yeah. So you do that in the morning. Okay.
So I get up and I do that, or I run a mile. It's not very much. That's as far as I want to run. I don't like to run. I really hate running, but I can run a mile. So I run, every other day I run a mile or I do the tonal. And some days I do both because my stupid ring has not accepted that I did enough.
Stupid ring. I was on deadline this week and the ring just kept telling me, it says very politically, like, is it time to stretch your legs a bit? I'm like, no, screw off. I cannot get up.
Or I'll be like, I'm in a car. Stop it. Yeah. I can't figure out why it wants me to do what it wants me to do, but I'm willing to do it. So.
I like it when it congratulates me that I did it. It's so nice. Okay, so tell us what the best book is that you've read recently and why did you love it?
Oh, man. I'm torn between two.
Ooh, tell us both.
All right. So I just read The Vanishing Half, which is what I thought was in the background there. Britt is the person's first name, and I don't remember what her last name is. But it is the story of two twin sisters, identical twins. They start off in 1950s Louisiana. They run away from home for various and sundry, not particularly, they just do. They're Black girls, but they're very light-skinned, and one decides to pass. So boom, she's gone. She's the vanished half. Like, because she doesn't keep in touch with anyone. And this is then the story of, so it stretches not into present today, but into like 1970s, 1980s, and sort of follows them both and their children and their mother. And
that sounds fascinating.
Really, really, really good. Like just
going to the top of my TBR pile.
Yeah, it's worth the hardback price because it is a hardback.
That is good to know.
Yeah, it's worth it. So I loved that. And the other one was Rodham. Hillary.
Hillary.
Rodham, yeah. Curtis Sittenfeld's exploration of what if Hillary didn't marry Bill. It's so good.
I didn't know that's what she was writing about. Okay.
Such chutzpah, right?
And she's such a
she
great writer.
Went there. There are sex scenes. Like, she did not pull any punches. She's like, I am in Hillary's head and I am going to do this thing. And as I read the first third, I almost felt like, I was like, I think I would like this better if it was all fiction. Like, if it weren't, I was very dubious because I kind of kept going, well, did that really happen? How about that? Yeah. But I didn't go look because I didn't want to. And so I threw it out there on Instagram and was like, okay, people, should I I just keep getting really distracted by the truth. Yeah. The truth is very distracting. And everyone was like, no, keep going. And they were so totally right. Because the minute she doesn't marry Bill, the whole thing takes off, and it's just this amazing, alternative, entertaining fiction that'll make you feel better about life, except that it didn't really. It's like the West Wing in a book. Like a West Wing episode in a book.
I love West Wing.
Yeah, and it is super fun, and I really enjoyed it. And also, I'm just so impressed because, balls out move.
Yes. Yeah, and also balls out move for the publisher.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I think that if a man had written this and it were called McCain, it would be like winning the Pulitzer and things like that. It's really that good, but because it's a woman and it's about a woman, it's
by a woman,
stuff.
Okay, thank you. Oh my gosh, I both of these have just shut up, and I have to say that you are just as delightful as I thought you would be.
And you are too.
Great to talk to you.
Have fun.
Okay, so tell us now about you, where we can find you, what the latest book is we should get from you, or do you have a mailing list so that you can tell them when the Chicken Sisters comes out too?
I would love it if people got on my mailing list, and the way to do that is actually to go to followkj.com, where you will find a little sign up thing.
URL.
I know. Yeah. It's actually, so you buy a nice URL like that, and then you just point it to your sign up page that
that's a good point.
You don't have to make anything. You just buy the URL. So follow KJ.com. My friend and co-host Serena Bowen says I absolutely 100% have to change the image on that page, but I refuse to because I think it's really funny. I'll let you
wait to look at it.
By that. So that's a great way to get on my list. And I send an essay, kind of like you, an essay, a riff on creative life and some pictures of my farm animals. Theoretically it's every week, but it's really not. Yeah.
It's really been not lately.
Couple of weeks when I do it. It'll probably be every week until my book comes out, and then it'll flake off again. And the other great place to find me is Instagram. I am at KJDA.
KJDA, great. And also tell us a little bit about this writing podcast of yours, because we want to hear about it.
So #AmWriting, we're at episode 253.
Dang.
Yes, it is hosted by myself, Jessica Leahy, who's a best-selling nonfiction author of a book called The Gift of Failure, and our third co-host is Serena Bowen. She's got 30-odd romances, USA Today bestsellers. Every time she says 30-odd, I'm like, oh, that's such a softball, and I hit that out of the park. And we alternate between the three of us talking craft, talking about how we're working, talking about why we can't work. We just recorded an episode busting writer myths, and then we do interviews, which we don't do all three of us because that would be insane. But we have really scored some amazing. We interviewed David Sedaris.
Oh my Lord!
He gave the flat out worst writing advice I have ever heard. So I got to call him out on that, and that's my claim to fame now.
Do you want to tell us what it is?
Go sit down. Yes. He was, we said, we always like to have people tell how they got started, even if it's probably not super relevant to our readers or our listening. I always say readers, our listeners. And he said, well, people knew I was writing little things, but I didn't make a big deal of it. You should never ask anyone to look at your work. Don't ask anyone for anything. And I was like, no, wait. That is so not how you do it. Really, I can't even though you're David Sedaris, I can't let that stand. He was like, yeah, and then I think Ira Glass had me at a party and he had asked me to read my thing. And I'm like, that's great.
You are not typical, David Sedaris. You are not typical.
Advice we are going to let stand for our listeners. You must ask people for what you want.
I would be nowhere if I couldn't do that. Literally nowhere. I would have had.
I would have sit here and wait for people to find my.
For Ira Glass
the New Yorker called. They haven't actually called me yet, and I've been I've been out there. So anyway, I
can't wait to listen to that interview too.
And we've had Jennifer Weiner, Celeste Headley, Richard Russo, Alan Alda. But honestly, the good people, like the best episodes, are the ones where you're like, oh, I've never heard of that person.
I know.
Because that person is, busting their butt freelancing. Or that person's got a debut novel that just came out, and they're going to talk about how they got that novel, out there. So I love the famous guests. They give us a lot of street cred, but really the best episodes are the ones where you're like, I don't know, but it sounds like a good topic.
That's exactly right, because I think the rest of us who are really busting our ass to put food on the table and make the money, we're the ones who still have to think really hard about the craft. I can imagine that if I had millions in the bank from writing, I might not think too hard about the craft anymore.
Or even if I was at that point where but even if I was, so I just read Jennifer Weiner's latest book, which is Big Summer.
I haven't read it yet.
It's really good. It's really entertaining. But so I didn't do anything more than look at the first line of the flap copy is a girl, overweight girl goes to be bridesmaid at her famous rich college or high school friend's wedding on Cape Cod, and things happen. And I was like, okay, so
sign me
Jennifer
up.
Weiner,
Yes.
that's fine.
Yes.
I'm in for all of those things. It's gonna have food. It's gonna be funny. And you look at the cover, and it's like women's commercial fiction, right? It's got a girl and a fat. It's a mystery.
What?
It's a total, flat out, 100% all in genre mystery, right down to amateur sleuths with a blackboard listing clues. But because she's Jennifer Weiner, I think, she can do that. And I loved it. I mean, I loved every single bite of it, but when I got to the part where and if I had read all of the flap copy, I probably would have clued in that the something awful might be murder.
That is fascinating though.
And it is not being marketed, this is being marketed as straight up because she's Jennifer Weiner.
And they have to market her to her fans, and they will all buy it.
To her fans, and
they'll be like, oh, this is fun.
I was not one bit disappointed by the discovery that I was going to be solving a murder with the chick and her. It was all good. I was totally there for it, but I did just keep boggling because it's like, man, she can just do the things, right?
Yeah. I love her.
I do too.
Okay, well, thank you so much for this interview.
This was so much fun.
A delight, and it will be out very soon, as will your book be in a few months. So everybody go sign up, follow KJ.com. You want to be on that list. All right, my friend, we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.